Welcome back. So, yeah, welcome back, guys, to today's Workflow Without Automation series, day 14 or episode 14. Right. So, um, previously on these, the we were covering the authentication on the front end, right? And we have a to do on that authentication end where if the user wants to add a new authentication, they click on the add connection or add a new account, and it redirects them to the API endpoint where they will, where they will have um, this layer of where they will have a redirection. If it is an OAuth, they'll have a redirection to the sites that uh, they are trying to authenticate with. Let's say, for instance, Google, right? Or they will or they will get a view, a page where they will have to input their API key depending on the type of um, connection they're trying to make. So that is the to do that we have on the authentication side, um, for us to complete the parts of the front end authentication side. Okay, but we also have event properties, right? We have event properties where you put in events, right? um, let's see, where you put in the event properties, like, okay, if we're making, like, okay, new, let's say it's new spreadsheet, like, what are those properties that you need to the event is new spreadsheet, but what are those properties that needs to go, let's say parameters, that needs to go into the function that will be creating that spreadsheet. So we'll be looking at N8N and Zapier to get an idea of what that looks like, right? So without further ado, let's get started. But first, I'm gonna make posts on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram today. So I'm gonna start posting on Instagram as well today. I haven't posted on my Instagram for, like, I don't know. I haven't really posted on my Instagram. So first, let's make the post on LinkedIn. So I have the copy written already. I have the copy out there already. So mm. So I was checking out an automation, open source automation today, right? I was checking it out, and I saw Aut- Automatish. Yeah, Automatish. I saw Automatish. Um, we already have the idea um, of Zapier, right? We already have the idea of N8N. So I was just checking out, like, okay, what are the other alternatives that are out there, that people are using, that I don't have an idea about. So I decided to go online, search for it. I found Automatish. I found um, active pieces, right? And quite some others that I also found as well. So So there are some that like Automatis uses client secrets and client ID to make connection to Google, right? So that was like no, a red flag, like to sort of like red flag. Um, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, you know, for me. So like I have to set up the client ID and client secret maybe for um, I don't know why. Like let's be frank, because Zapier just make it easy. You just connect, so it just works out of the box. So the same thing goes for Autopiece, right? So Autopiece, you you make the connection, like you just make the connection. That's it. Like you can literally make the connection and it just works. Okay, so that's sort of what I like. I like that about it, you know. So and I like that about Zapier as well. And I don't like that about anything and automation. Something that just get us started. Like, and since Zapier is not open source, um, Active Piece is open source. I think it's open source. Yeah, yeah, Active Piece is open source. I haven't really checked it out to that level to know, what it contains. And I've never built an open source project before or made any contribution. I think I've made a contribution previously, right, to an open source project. Um, that was when I was doing Google coding. So it was sort of my um, first open source contribution that I have, right? So if you know, I use ChatGPT to generate this. You know, I don't know if this is too much, but I mean, I don't think it's too much. So after making our post, then I'm going to start the timer for 1 hour. So post made. So let's go on Twitter, now known as X. So content for Twitter. So there's, and let me get the streaming link. And let's add image because it's not going to generate the image for us. So we need to subtract. Let's remove this source. What's kind for that one? This is called for updates. So what can we remove? Let's remove workflow builder. Okay. Let's post that. And let's go to Twitter. Instagram. It's my first time posting on Instagram, I guess. My second time posting on Instagram. Well, this is not well optimized for Instagram. Hope that seems to be all. Yeah, this is what we're talking about. The original. So get the caption. This caption not too much. Well. Okay, so I'm going to add the link, the streaming link to it. So I'm going to share that. Sorry, I have to pick this call. Yeah, hello? Yeah. I got it. Yes, sir. No. So I guess it's quite some connection on LinkedIn. So now we can start from where we stop. I think, um, today's the last stream for this week. So next week, I think I should be able to plan during the weekend what we will be working on daily, right? So that we just don't have to you know, scrub our brain or yeah, what do we want to work on today? What do we have? Stuff like that. So I'm going to do that during this weekend, and yeah. So let's get started. So first, let's run the code and see what we already have. Okay. So now we can go to localhost 3000. Landing page. This is due to convex. Clark. This is supposed to be coming from Clark. So I'm going to reload the page. Yeah. So let's log in. Then we're using Google Auth. I think that's what we're using. So we have Clark take care of our authentication, so we don't have to worry much about anything. And my workflow is still there. So if I log in as someone else, so if I go to the new stuff here, paste this here, and I sign up. Actually, I have to sign up. So I sign up with my Google. Okay. So when I go to workflow, you see I have entered the workflow. So like we have all of those set up. I don't have any tasks because I don't really have any tasks. I don't have any client. Right, but in here I have the task that I've created, the client. We're gonna beautify this as we go, but like we're gonna go back to some of those things that make them more, you know, interesting. So this is what we have. The icons are coming from the nodes class, you know, so everything is becoming, is coming together. So now we have added the authentication, right, where you connect new accounts is what we need to work on, right? But the reason I'm pushing this a little bit back is because we're going to start working on the class, right? We're going to start working on the classes now, the node class. So I want to make sure like that is well planned out before we jump in there and start working on the classes and the authentication part of it, and start linking both of those things together, and then we'll be able to like connect in your account and get that to show up right here. So um, so let's get that started. See how this is what I chose last time, so that's why we're seeing this in the internal, and like you have these, which is cool. That's cool. So let's close everything here, collapses, and go to. So now we need to start working on the workflow lead node, and let's start with the Gmail. So inode type, like inode description, what we initially have for inode description is that we're going to have event separately, right? We're going to have the events separate, we're going to have the properties separate. But then when I think about it, I just think events, the properties have to go into the event, right? Because like that way we don't have to do too much, right? That way we don't have to do too much writing, like, okay, this depends on these, this should only show if this is selected or something like that. If the event is this, show this, and stuff like that. Like you can see, we only have the type, right, which is this. We have the description, the required, the pivot value, the option method. So it's not like we have anything special here. So I just decided that we're going to be moving this property from here, right, and we are going to be moving the property down to the inode description events here. So that's where we have the property. So now for us, we have to, let's go to Zapier. So let's Zapier.com. So let's open this untitled, and I'm going to open N8N. I'm going to open their GitHub. So with Zapier, so if you are sending an email, in the action you have the fields. So you have the thread. You can select the thread. Okay, this one, I'm having this email. Let me check that quick on my phone. Yeah, okay. The security has to do with the active piece. Mm, sorry, one more, 1 minute. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know that I do get the emails whenever I go live. This is my first time seeing that I get email whenever I go live. Okay, so let's say it's the event is what is sent email, right? That's the event, connected account, and now you see we have these properties that you have to fill out, right? You have to fill out this one. You have to fill out the CC, the BCC optional, right? But this is required. Like there has to be one, right? And the BCC is not necessary. The form is required as well. You have to select where you're sending it from. The name is not required. You need the subject. The reply to is not required, but you need the subject. You see, the subject is required. The to is not even marked as required because it's multiple. The from is not marked as required as well, but the subject is marked required, but the body is marked required. So these are like the properties or like the fields, right? That needs to, um, that you need to uh, take in. So maybe we should change it from properties to fields, fields, like fields. So currently names properties here, but I'm going to change that. It's going to be either action or trigger, just like Zapier has it. So it's either action or it's trigger, right? So for that, uh, let's get it started. So it's going to be fields. Okay, we just check out Zapier, but let's check out anything as well. So for anything, you have packages, you have the node base, the nodes, right? So let's search for Google. So I'm inspired by the folder setup. I haven't really dived deep into like how does this thing works. How is this? So they have different version. They have version 1 and version 2. Let's go to version 2, and this is a node. And in here you see the credentials. You can use Google API or you can use the Google OAuth, right? So then we have the properties, right? So they're using properties here. You have like authentication. So you have the options, the default value. They have the resources, and like these are the events. We already took care of this. We took care of this authentication to be different. We took care of this resources to be different, which are events. And now you see like all these are coming. Okay, draft field, draft operation, label operation, label field, method operation, a message operation, message field. So these are coming from another folder, right? As you can see, they're coming from each of these files. So if we go to message description, so in message description you can see we have the operation that you're trying to perform, right, which is either add label, delete, gets, adds, gets many. So they splitted it down, right? And then they have the message fields. So the fields that you're dealing with, you have like message ID, you have the message ID king, right? But now you have the display option, which is show only if the resource is message. The operation is this. So we will have to like write logic on that if we have to put it this way, right? We have to add, okay, now show this only if this is this, right? So only if this is reply, only if this is this, only if this is that. But our owner has already been broken down, right? If we go in here, has already been broken down that we have what we have the events separately. You understand? So like we have the events separately, so we can move all these events into like their own files. Like send email can be moved to its own file where we have its if the fields that needs to go into there, the display name and everything will come in as well, right? So that way it's easier to manage, right? Because okay, this file I'm going to get the send email, the reply email, the draft, or we can like move that to one file. So we can have it like events.ts, right? And we can export default events, so which is an array events, export default const events, exports const event, right, which is an array. So we can bring all of these events, right? So we have events, we can pass everything in here there. We can import event type right here. So now for send email, we already said we're having, so I node events array. So we have fields, right, which is an array, and for each field we are going to have a display name, we're going to have a name. So the name is what we're going to be using to access it. So we're going to have the name, we're going to have the default value, which I think that's optional, the description, the required, let's say it's true, the type, so the type is a string. It's not gonna allow that, so we have to do events. So for the type, okay, type is an object. Then we have the name, which is string. We have the box, which is optional as well. So I'm going to format this. So now in this one, right, we can have as many fields as possible. So let's say now you can have here, you can do const send email event, and then you take this, cut this, place this here, right, which has to follow inode event. Okay, then now we do what, send email events, right? So we can like separate them out and start putting them in there. Or we can do it this way. Instead of doing that, would you send email events? I mean, it's okay like this. Let's just have it like this. So now we have the fields. So let's get an idea of what sending an email is. So we have the two, but I'm going to go to Zapier and I'm going to there's a way we could go to the fields, right? Like, you can learn more about the fields. So zapier.com/ okay, Zapier Gmail, yeah, integration, yes. So here we go. So it has the action, which is send email, and these are the properties that it has. The subject, the body. So we're gonna do those are the ones that we're gonna do. So the two, right, where is sending it to? So we might access it with this key, send to. The default value is going to be empty. The default value should not be like required. It should not be required because you don't, sometimes you don't even have any default value that you want to give to it. So the description, so you get the description, which we can take anything here. So let's just to have something there, nothing special, it's just to have something there. And required, we set it to true. So we do the same thing. We do the subject, so subject required is true, it's type of string, and the subject, this is the subject, we don't have any description, just the subject. So we can have the subject, the description optional as well. It's not description per se, it's just like info, like, well, you can say description. So required is true, the type is string, and we can have this, something like this. So we can have the body, and is body, let's use body, and that's true, and it's a text area, right? So we're just going to start with the send email and start populating things on the front end. So we have the send email, right? We have some properties coming out now. Now we're going to go into so we're going to go into the front end, right? So we're going to go to the components, to the workflow, and in the node properties. So how did we do in the node authentication is we got the user so that we can get, but we we are not doing that. Like, we don't need to get the user, but we need to get the selected node. We need to get the update node data, and we need to get node info in the properties. So use workflow. So we need that. So it can be disabled. So you can have it disabled when the selected node dot data dot API when not this or not selected node dot data dot event. So if there's no event, then this has to be you know, so if I had a new one and I'm trying to open this up, you see it's defaultly not opened, right? So if I have the sheets, I have the grade sheets, the authentication is open, the properties is open. So, and or the node info, so when it becomes node info equals get node info, and passing the selected node data API. So if node info dot authentication and not selected node dot data dot authentication ID. So if it requires authentication and there's no authentication ID, then it shouldn't open. So these have to be verified, like, okay, shit, good. So you've connected that, then you can now this can open up for you. So I'm going to format that. So that's the disabled props, and we can do the same thing for the authentication as well. So it can be disabled. It can be disabled if there's either one of these is empty. So if not that or not that, you know, so if I go in and I had like new stuff, you know, I've not selected anything, though the authentication is not even going to show. It's not even going to show. Like, the authentication is not going to show anyways. So that's it. But if I select the sheet, the authentication shows up, but I have to select the event, and it's make sure that this event needs authentication. So I can just have them meeting, but for now, that is what we need to do. So let's get started. So I'm going to go to the properties, the node info. Do I need the node info? I'm only using the node info because of this authentication, to check if this authentication and the authentication has been done. I think that's the only thing I'm using the node info for, because I just want to get the event const fields equals node info the events dot find. So it's going to find where the node dot display name equals to selected node dot data dot events, right? So we can console the log fields. So for send email, we already have the properties. So if I go into the console, can have this go on there. Right now, if you look on there, you can see we have this, but we don't have the fields. The fields are not coming, so we have to reload the page. And if we go to send email now, right, you can see the fields are coming in now. Right, so the fields are coming in now. So we can now display the fields if the fields are available in this accordion content. So let's see what we did here. Shadows, let's see what authentication looks like. Okay, this, no, we don't need that. Just need the properties to look like just the way it looks, nothing special. So one thing is we need to look through the properties fields. So if fields the dot fields. So if fields and fields the map field, then we want to, let's probably use a div or something. Use a div, and in that div we have label. Let's not use any of those stuffs. So let's just do for that we have done. Huh? Sorry. So there's an H1, and then in there we have the field, the display name. So now you see we have the to, the subject, the what, the body. So then in here we have another div, and we can have, this is where we have to create the components. Like we have to create a component that we're trying to use in the interface. You know, the text area, the string, the number, the boolean, the choice. So we need to have sort of like a function, right, that we can, or an element that we can pass in. Like let's say the element is like field. Let's say field field generator, something like that, right, where we can now pass in, we can pass in, let's say we pass in everything in the field, right. We might not even have to do all of this, right. We might not even have to do all of this, that we just need to pass in this field generator. So since this is just small, I'm just gonna start here, and we can move it to another file soon. So I'm gonna return a div, right. So I'm gonna format this. So we're gonna then we're gonna have an H1 that I had previously, but then we need to have field that is I node property so we can have the display name, and you see that display names are still there. Okay, so here is where we have to get the elements. So let's say the element, I'm just going to do an if here, So we form the our work. So we have imputes coming from, and then we have like type. So we have this type. So let's try impute for the start. So we can try impute for the start and then move from there. So we're going to pass in the type. So we're going to pass in type dot name, right? So now we have this. So this is not a text area, but it's a starting point for us, right? Class name is flex. Let's go. So in this node property at the top here, we want to do a class name. So we're gonna do class name that's gonna have P, right? P4. So it's gonna give them padding, right? So let's see what we have in the app event, node event. And here we have the flex. Okay. So let's use this. Exactly. This. So we can copy this, put this format, and we go to the properties. Now we have this. So we can style each of them, to be good. So we can have the class name to be text Excel, no, LG, empty, to should be text, should be font bold, should have a PB1, right? And just right in front here, we're gonna have a span, and we're gonna have required. So here we can have if required. So if required, then we want to show this. So we have to do class name text access text muted foreground. Yeah, so like this. Text font light. Okay. Then we have like required. So the same thing goes like if we want to add like, so if we want to add like that, but we don't really need it. This required is enough. Like if you see this required, you should like this thing is required. Like this is required. Probably need to start having button to like continue to the next, next collapsible. Next accordion, we should have maybe next button, right? so that we can have like we can do the check for each of this. Okay, so we have to do um, value, like value. So to do the value, we need to get value string. So we need to do value, and that value might not be string, it can be any. So let's not default that yet, because text area, string, number, boolean, choice, they are not all string. So we can do this and get the value. So we're gonna selected node dot data dot params, and we're passing the field dot name. Right, we can do value. So here our string. Okay, we haven't called it value yet. Okay, so if there's value, we have closed here. Thank God we didn't close the live stream. We don't need to run the converts for now. So we have the value, right? And we need to have an on change. So like on change, because I have like on text. So on change. So I'm going to console the log. I'm just going to console the log. So if this is changing, I was not sure. Oh, because we initially have the server, so we have to reload because the connection has cut off. So send email properties, then we need to. So when we are imputing, we have to get the value. So we do events, right? This event, so we do e dot target dot value, right? So this e dot target dot value is going to go inside of, so in here, I mean, we could literally just have the value here to the front. So we could do the selected node here. So name the selected node and update node data. So we can do the selected node dot data dot params. So what we can do is we can do const value, so we don't have to pass in an extra value here. So we can do value equals selected node dot data dot param name, right, which we can get from here, else it's default value, else is default value. So we can pass in the value here, and when it changes, we call it update node data, and we say the params in the params we do a name target of value, right? Does that work? Can get rid of this, and we can format this, format documents, and we can go back to the application. Let's look at this. Okay. Index. I don't know where I'm using seed index. You drag and do. Okay, that's this. It still reacts. So if I click on this, there has to be unique key for the properties. So here there has to be key, and that is field okay. So we go to properties, we have an error. So our error is undefined send to. So param is params. So you know property, it's params, not param. Okay. And now we can do the so let's send it's uncontrolled. Or it's empty. So subject, email, marketing, easy, yeah, the body, something, okay, but these are getting set back to empty. So if I do this, so the reason for that is if we go into the update node, right, the function itself that is updating the node data, you see it's putting the node the data there, right, but there's something that we are still missing. Is that if there's params, we need to set the params as well. So we have to do params, and we have to do state dot selected node dot data dot params. So if there's any params, then we can now pass in the data dot params. So which means if we are setting the values here, we have to set the params. Okay, yeah, so we're setting params here, as you can see, which is good. So if we go back here, we click on this, we go to properties, we say to welcome, subject is welcome, the working here to be proud of it, so that, and if we go to change the authentication, so let's change the authentication to this and see, this is the day. That's cool. So if we save changes and we go to our convex database, so convex, let's log in, goes to our dashboard, click on app, and in the workflow we have just one workflow right now. So if we edit this, you see our node, there's this Gmail, is not having params, but the only params is having is the body. It's having the body, but it's not having the sent to and the subject. That's wild. That's wild. And that's exactly what we're doing here. Exactly what we're doing here. But why is it not showing other fields and it's showing this field? We're getting just the body and not the. So let me save this. Maybe, just maybe, what is happening is that it's replacing. Yeah, you see. So it's not keeping track of like what we have previously. So let's come back here. So we have the params. Oh yeah, we need to do the data after that. It's gonna be this data has to go. No, 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 no. Yeah, you just have to stay here. This is where it needs to stay. So we're setting everything we have previously. We're setting the data, we're setting the params, and we're getting whatever is available in the selected node. Dot data dot params, right? And then we're setting the data dot params. But then when okay, so but we are not saving it into the node, so that's the problem. We need to do the same thing we did here down here as well. That is exactly where the problem is. So we could have, maybe done it another way, but yeah. So now if I come here, property, and welcome home, something must be working, and we save these changes, go back to a convex database, replace this again, and now we have the body, the sent to, the subject, so we can access all of these from the params. So whenever we are now executing this, right? Whenever we're executing this, that means we have to go into data, the params when we're executing this event. So that's cool. That is awesome. Real awesome. That's really really awesome. You know. So, why can't you have like description? There's no description. This is like description itself. Okay. So the send email, we have the to, the subject, the from name, the body type. So what we need to work on, right, is this. We need to work on this. This is important because we can't have this input. Input is not the only thing that we need. We need the drop down option, we need the input, we need the text area, we need the switch for boolean, right, which you can toggle on and off, right, or we can make that option as well. If it's boolean, you just have to select true or false. I think they did something like that. I don't know where. I'm sure they showed it something like that. Off session, you see, so it's true false. See, so there's out like, and you can select custom. Having custom for this kind of things doesn't make sense actually. Doesn't make sense. So that's off, on and off. So like, that's the options you have. I mean, even if you check it, you see that we are limited to like not limited, like, but main thing that they use is input, drop down, right? This is drop down where you'll be able to select the options that are available, or you have like custom option that you can choose from other nodes, right? You have like currency is input, the amount is input, so it's specifically inputs, like it's more of inputs than anything. So like it's only these that we have like inputs, and then we have like multiple, like it sort of generates multiple inputs, right? But apart from that, I mean, I don't think there's anything different. It's the same outro. So we need to make our focus on um, we need to make our focus on the drop down, right? And we have to make our focus on three things: the text area, right? Because text area is important here. So let's start with text area. Let's do this. Let's do type dot name equals, so if it is text area, then we should use text area, right? And we pass in the same thing. We pass in the value, right? Yes, we pass in the value, we pass in the unchanged. So I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to do the same thing here. So if type the name equals to string, then we have this equals to, so we can do the string and numbers are basically using the same, like number that includes this. So if it includes that, then we want to show the inputs. Our time is up. So that is it. And if we go back to our workflow here, now we see the text area showing up here, right? The inputs showing up, and we can have, since we already determined it's going to be 3 types, so we don't really need to put ourselves in a position like, oh yeah, now let's create this or something like that. So the third one is with the type of name equals choices. So if it is choices, then we want to show the select option, which is going to take in the options, which is options. So we have options, and so we have options, the unchange, which is just gonna be empty, and the default value is gonna be value. So it's gonna be value, and the placeholder is just select for now. So the unchange, we're just gonna have the unchange the same way. So just gonna have this. So this is selected. So we have the selected, and instead of using e dot target of value is selected instead. So we're going to format that, and I'm going to go into this events, the send email, and above here I'm going to have one more, which is the body type that we're discussing. So it's going to be body type, and it's going to be body type required is true. So we have the default value is what is it? It's plain. So we have it as choices, right? And we have the options to be an array of label, plain, value, plain, right? So we have HTML and HTML. So that is it. So if you reload this, you come to send email, the properties, now you see this, right? So the default value is plain, that's why it's selected, which is HTML. So that's not saving. So properly I have the, oh yeah, I need to do the value. So HTML, okay, and here I need to add a key. I need to move this up, and we can have a class name of flex1, p of 4. Just trying to get this to, so flex oh yeah. So there you go. So you can have plain or HTML. So we have HTML, and if we save this changes, so we save changes. Save index. We save the changes. We can go into our. Before I do that, let me check this out very fast. We have this inputs. build z0 minus z, let me do minus z10 minus z0, that's bad, minus z1, no, it's minus z10 minus z1 z0, is it, I don't know why it was scrolling up and like it's just sort of gets in the way. Maybe this is not the problem. The problem might be the node header here, right? Top of 0, this, sticky top, z40, can scroll here. Okay, so that's what's our problem there. And so now we're doing like things that are looking, are taking shape. We have our text area coming, we have our options come in, right? So probably not be using boolean, probably not. And for options, we need to create another component. We're not going to be using that component for our option. We're not going to be using this select components. We won't be using the select option component. We'll be using something else because we want to have this body type passed in, right? And we want to have the custom, and in our select and our option, right, we want to have it to also be dynamic, right? Because that is why we have option method. As you can see, we have option method and events that you can use. So if I do option method, you see we have option method. So option method will allow us to be able to load option, right? Like get from emails, those are coming from they are not static in the code. They are being fetched from from wherever it's being fetched from, so that was the reason we added to our readme file, right? When we're looking at Zapier, we added to our readme file. You see we have node choices, and we see that when they are sending the request for the choices, so they are sending it to sending the node, so which you can say it's the API that we're using. They are sending the authentication ID, they are sending the parameters. So it's not that the parameters are needed for some of these things, but some are needed. So that is why. So then they are sending the field they're trying to get. They're sending the page because with their own you can load more and load more and load more. So there's pagination, and they're sending the workflow ID. So that is why we have this here. Okay. So this is saving into the database, because if we go to the convex database and we edit, we go to the params, see the body type is HTML. So like all of these are saving into the database. We just need to finish things up. We need to finish things up here, right, so that we can run the test. So what we're going to be doing tomorrow is, since all of these are getting saved we'll be able to use those, right? We'll be able to use those parameters, and we'll be able to run the test. Like we use those parameters when we want to run the test, right? So to send a request. So what we're going to be dealing with tomorrow, so we already have sent email that is available for us. If we go to another event, we don't have any properties for that, but we have property for send email, which is a starting point. So the first thing we're going to be dealing with tomorrow is getting um, the authentication of the node setup. We need to be able to authenticate, right, and save those authentication into the database. So if we are able to authenticate and save those authentication to the database, then we will be able to make use of that authentication when we are trying to run test. Okay, so we deal with the authentication first. Then after dealing with the authentication, then we go to the node class itself and start writing the function for sending email, right? That function will be able to call, like we'll be able to make use of all the properties, right? And whenever we want to test, we send a request for test, it's going to call that send email method, right? And give us a response, right? A response of either it failed or it's went through or any of that. Okay, so that's our plan. So make sure to follow up tomorrow, like make sure to join live tomorrow, so we can work on this authentication together. And if you have any insights, you've worked with a workflow builder before, and you have anything that you think we need to think of that we're not thinking of, just let me know in the comment section, right? And or you can chat me up on LinkedIn, right? And I will respond to you. So make sure to like and subscribe, right? And leave a comment below. That gives me the energy to continue creating this content, because this is a live tutorial that people are not doing on YouTube. It's one of a kind. Like literally nobody's doing this kind of content on YouTube. Like nobody. So I'm gonna see you tomorrow. No, next week, as Monday. You might see me tomorrow if I create a video that I can just post quick. And I'll also be looking into TikTok as well. Creating an account on TikTok to upload video on there as well. Make sure to follow me on TikTok. I'm going to be sharing my TikTok next week Monday. Thank you guys. I'll see you later. Bye.